chase him round the moons of Nibia and round the Antares maelstrom and round perdition's flames before I give him up. There she is. There she is.
Ricardo, your film persona is so closely identified to Mr. Rourke of Fantasy Island. Does it bother you at all that you're playing a villain now? Something totally different?
Well, you know, John, what happened was that when I first read the script of Star Trek, a character that I had done in the past, many years ago, and when I read the script, I try to read it without thinking or focusing on my character, see the totality of a piece, and see where everything, all the pieces fit. I read it again. This time I get more acquainted with all the different characters. I read it again, and I find colors in this. And then it isn't until about the fourth or fifth time that I begin to perhaps memorize the dialogue and articulate it all myself in the room,
And the character begins to come to life.
And the character begins to come to life, except that I've been doing Fantasy Island Mr. Rourke now for 5 years. We're starting our 6th season now. And when I first utter the words, the first words that I had to say, it's a long speech that I have, it's the introduction of Khan in the picture. I found too much of Mr. Rourke in there. I didn't know what to do. I said, wait a minute. For 5 years, that's all I've done. It's, Fantasy Island for 5 years. No other roles have I played. So then I asked Harvey Bennett, the producer, to send me a cassette of the original. He says, but that was 17 years ago. I said, I want to see if I can recapture some of the thoughts and the mechanism that was working in that role. Because that role found favor with the Star Trekkies. I got a lot of fan mail from them because of that role. And I wanted to recapture something of the original character. Well, I ran it on a Saturday, because the only thing I have off working, doing a television series, you have no time for these things. And I ran it for about 3 or 4 times. And then I started remembering the motivations that I had.
Played that character.
Yeah, I played it. And I say, it's true. It's 17 years later, but it's the same man with the same fingerprints. You can't forget the fingerprints of Khan. And except that now he's eaten away with this obsession,
That's the key word to his character. He's obsessed.
The obsessed.
And it's what finally destroys his...
That's correct.
Because he does gain from this obsession, but he carries it to such extremes.
That's right. Out of proportion. And so when I started reading again, then I felt much more comfortable, and I found Khan again.
You recaptured that obsession.
I think I did.
Where do you find that within yourself? You're a very relaxed, easygoing man yourself. Where do you draw from?
Well, I think human emotions are all present in all of us, and I have known anger, and I have known envy. I try to keep them under control because, my religion tells me that I must hate the sin, but I must love the sinner, otherwise there is no hope. But I have known frustration, and I have known envy, and I have known all those emotions that are heir to the flesh, you see. So I do call upon myself, recall moments in which I felt these frustrations and then try to augment them to fit the situation. But I think we all know this, all the human emotions, all the gamut. We've all experienced them in lesser or greater degrees.
What's nice about your portrayal, I think, is that you made it bigger than a video television villain. Your portrayal fit the format, which is the widescreen epic, and it becomes almost a classic villain. Do you feel that?
Oh, thank you. Well, what the key was given to me by our magnificent director, Nicholas Mayer. He's going to be enormous, this man. I guarantee you this man is going to be a big, big name on film. When the first day, the day before I reported to work, he sent me a copy of Moby Dick with an inscription saying, "Welcome, Ahab, Lear, Khan, Ricardo." Now that gave me, you see, the obsession of Captain Ahab for that whale, the stature of the size of Lear, and the tragic man, Khan, which, remember what I did with it before. And then my interpretation, Ricardo has to be in there. Because, every actor has to, if every actor played the role the very same way. I did A King and I some years ago, and at the Music Center here for the Civic Light Opera, and I played it with my hair and the thing totally different. So I'm not playing Yul Brynner. Yul Brynner played it bald, you know, and beautifully. But I mean, only the bald people, people who shave their heads, were the Buddhist monks. The king of Siam never shaved his head. So I want to do my own thing, and I did my own thing, and people appreciated that. They didn't compare their Yul with me, you see, and the local critics. They accepted the totality of what I had done, which is a total different interpretation. And so it is with Khan. I do have to have Ricardo Montalban in there somewhere. Otherwise, it would be very dull if every actor played every role the same way. Yes.
Let's talk about makeup and costume, because I think it contributed a great deal to the image of Khan that we come away from the theater with.
Yeah, Werner Kepler, the makeup man is magnificent. He knew how to accentuate certain lines that come from away from happiness, you know. He did that beautifully, very subtle. Ziggy Geikie gave me that marvelous mane, that white mane of hair, which is very, very effective. And of course, Fletcher, the designer of the clothes, he did a very, very clever thing. He took a regal outfit, Robert Fletcher. He took that should have been a regal princely outfit that is now in tatters. I mean, and you can see the destruction of this thing, but a semblance still of dignity and elegance in the few remnants of these rags, you know. He really, and all those things help the actor enormously. You know, I won an Emmy some years ago doing an Indian, beautifully written, on How the West Was Won. And when I made my little acceptance speech, and I really meant this, I said that in my case, that statuette was in the wrong shape. Should not have been in the shape of an Emmy, should have been in the shape of a four-leaf clover, to signify how fortunate I was to have portrayed that wonderful role with that wonderful director and with a wonderful crew under the and it's very true. And in this case, if my work in it is at all good, I owe it to Mayer, to Nicholas Mayer, definitely, to Harvey Bennett and Sarin, the wonderful script, the photography, you know, the hairpiece, everything contributes to that, you know.
Do you think that this will change the direction of your career to a certain extent, even though you'll continue to play on Fantasy Island? Do you see yourself playing other villains, other larger roles like that?
I wouldn't mind that. I enjoy Fantasy Island very much still, because we do so many different stories, you know, not two stories are alike, different guest stars come every week, so I'm never bored with it. I'm not bored with a character. It's a little limiting, because the most difficult thing to do for an actor, only actors know this, forgive me, but really only actors know this. I don't think the public knows, the critics, I don't think even directors. Some do. The most difficult thing to do is what seems the simplest. The scene where you are tearing your hair out and crying and the frustration when there's a lot of emotion involved and that's so simple to do if you have any kind of ability. But those are the eye-catching scenes. The most difficult thing to do is what we call exposition, which is what I have to do week after week on Fantasy Island. Boss, who's that? Well, that is Ms. Lorraine Schildkraut from Arkansas, you know, and what's her fantasy? Well, her fantasy is da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and you try to do that amusingly or well. That is, so that people don't go, you know. Nothing helping you, no emotion. You're setting up the stage. You're setting up the stage for it, but the most difficult thing to do. So that is limiting and gets frustrating because it's so difficult to do, and it's totally unappreciated, of course. So I would like to once in a while do something like Cannes where you can soar. You know, it's wonderful fun. Yes.
Larger than life.
Yes.